everybody, and welcome to Sportcat's Daily Gazette. I hope some people come over from Ross's channel. You can find us on YouTube under the Para R Normal, 3 different words, and guys is spelled with a Z, Para R Normal Guys. And we welcome Radio X listeners in Australia. Good morning, good afternoon, good day to you wherever you are in this part of the world. We've got a great chat started already. We have Denise. Hello, Denise. And then we have Chris. Chris is in the chat. KG is here. Welcome, KG. And I hope I didn't miss anybody, did I? So we need to go do a welfare check on Wendell, make sure the storms didn't get him. So I hope everybody's having a great day. It's Friday. I couldn't find a sound effect for Friday. I wanted a good Friday sound effect, but I couldn't find one. So, oh well. And then I got sidetracked, but it's Friday. What is it? It's Happy 404 Day, I was told. I don't really know what that means unless you live in Atlanta. So happy 404 Day to you if you're celebrating it. I don't know the relevance. And I didn't check and see on the calendar what today is. Let me pull that up real quick because I know that that's important. On National Calendar Day. What is today? Well, tell me what today is. Today, yes, today. Today is National Vitamin C Day. Oh, I like this one. It's 4x4 Day for Jeeps. So it's Happy Jeep Day. And it's National Chicken Cordon Bleu Day. And it's National Librarian Day. All right. It's also National Walk Around Things Day. Oh, and it's also National Hug a News Person's Day. So I'll take it. So I think that's 420. We'll wait for that one to come up soon. But the 404 Day. So, all right, well, let's see. Let me share my screen here. We're just kind of today going to have a lighthearted day. There's not a lot of hard news. Of course, do you expect that on a Friday? Well, I mean, there is if you're into the political stuff, but we try and avoid some of that. But about 5 o'clock, they'll drop some bomb on us that we didn't expect. So, all right, well, we discussed previously, and I should have refreshed this, but Fram 2, if you remember, it's the SpaceX flight that was traveling over the different poles of Earth. Well, they have successfully splashed down carrying the 4 international astronauts. They landed in the water safely. And when I last checked, they're being lifted or hoisted above the, I guess that's a barge. And they'll be checked out medically or they will be removed. But yes, so they have returned safely. They're checking them medically to make sure they're good. And hopefully we will get some information and some pictures from the flight. I did look on their website, or not their website, their YouTube channel last night. And they were showing some images, but they were small in the corner. And I really wish they would have given us a little bit more than that. But they have returned safely. So that's good news. We welcome them back to Earth. They were just in a low space orbit, so they shouldn't have to go through much rehabilitation. Plus, they weren't up there that long. So, yes, 420 is that other weed of choice. So for some people, not me, I'm too old for it. It would make me crazy. I'm already crazy. Okay, so yesterday we discussed this on Capitol Hill about the Representative Anna Paulina Luna. She's a Republican from Florida, and her and Speaker Mike Johnson are having, he's also a Republican if you didn't know, are having some problems right now, and Mike Johnson sent the entire House home to think about what they'd done. Oh, mercy, mercy, mercy. There's a clash over proxy voting for new parents, and it's pretty much halted the House, and it's threatening to derail the president's legislative agenda, and it is kind of a critical time. So the two are apparently speaking. President Trump weighed in on this, hey, Wendell's back. We were about to do a welfare check on you, Wendell. We were going to send up a smoke signal or something. Denise was lighting the 420 for you, so we were going to check on you. So yeah, the House has been, well, they got an early vacation or early weekend, and what she was wanting for newborn parents, and I think even under federal law, you're given, I think, 13 weeks. I'd have to check to make sure, but she was asking that they have some type of voting system in place so that moms or dads that just had a child didn't have to travel to DC. There was a lot of heat about this. In fact, the Secretary of, I want to say, Transportation, his daughter made a post because her dad actually left Congress when she was born. And she was like, if you don't like it, leave. So, yeah, there was a big uphill battle about this. And it crossed lines. There was people on both sides of the party that were like, yeah, why can't we do this? This is 22nd century, 23rd century. I don't know. Wendell, there's nothing more important than the Sportcat Daily Gazette. You know that. So Luna and Johnson are speaking. President Trump may have thrown a little weight behind it last night aboard Air Force One when he said that he kind of agreed with her, but he was going to leave the decision to Johnson. So, yeah, they're at a standstill. But I think what they've come up with, or what they will be coming up with, is if they are to be there for critical votes and they don't want to allow them to vote for home, they need to make it more accessible. Well, they do have a medical staff 24/7 for the elected officials, the VIPs, I guess. Maybe they could have a nursery in place. Yes, I know this is going to cost us money. We're going to have to rebuild the room and paint one pink, one blue, I don't know, maybe one purple. Shit, I don't know. But at any rate, it's going to cost the taxpayers some money, but it may be a compromise to get the government running again that would be accessible. Well, Wendell, I agree your podcast is important, but obviously mine is much more important. So you need to remember that, Wendell. Don't lose sight of it. Let's see. Chris says, how could someone possibly expect the ability of remote voting with our complete lack of technology in 2025? Exactly. So she's making concessions that if you're going to make us come here when we're in that period, at least give us some alternatives, maybe a daycare, maybe provide us on a flight, because one of the concerns was in her childbirth, she couldn't fly at altitude because of her pregnancy. Offer us a chartered flight that will fly at a lower altitude. We, as a medical flight, we did that constantly. So there's alternatives. But yes, Chris, it would make more sense to give them a secure box that's somehow connected to, I'm going to throw it out there, Starlink, something where they could push the yes or no button. Seems to make much more sense to me, but hey, that's the way the government works. We're going to spend more money, but I'm okay with that. Put in a nursery and they take care of them. I guess that's fine. It's an alternative. So they're negotiating. So that's the good news of it. And if you're a TikTok fan, well, you're anxiously awaiting because the weekend is approaching, the Saturday deadline. They need to sell the U.S. assets of the TikTok to a non-Chinese buyer. And according to earlier reports, there's about 50 people in the front run, or 50 businesses, I guess, or companies in the front running to buy it, including Amazon. So the president or vice president said that there is something coming and that it will come out in the next few days. So this is from Reuters, where they're talking about it. Trump had imposed a temporary ban, which was lifted, and they do have the sale date of today. But there's some discuss that there may even lease the, what they call it, data stream or whatever it is from TikTok from China. So anyhow, there's some perspectives on some deals and some early front runners. Of course, Blackstone is the obvious one because they've invested in TikTok, but Amazon even threw their weight into wanting to get into the frenzy. So we'll have to see. China's ByteDance has a deadline and they need to find a buyer, or there will be a ban on their app. So let's see what happens. Everybody who follows me regularly knows that I'm not a huge TikTok person, but it is something that people enjoy. So let's bring it. All right. So we're going to hop over to the UK for a minute because we know that a lot of the world is interested in royalty, and Prince Andrew's reputation is irrecoverable. after a Newsnight interview, says a royal's aide. Prince Andrew's reputation was irrecoverable, good Lord, following his Newsnight interview, according to his senior aide. Witness statement from Dominic Hampshire also recalls he was told by intelligence services they had genuine concerns about the alleged Chinese spy Yang Tingbo and his influence on the Duke of York. The court papers released on Friday, that was over their time, were used in a case related to Mr. Yang, who was excluded from the UK on national security grounds in March of 2023. However, he denies any wrongdoing. Mr. Hampshire, who worked with the Duke of York until leaving the royal household in 2022, provided evidence to the Special Immigrations Appeal Commission, let me call it the SAC, some evidence related to the prince's disastrous BBC interview about Jeffrey Epstein. Mr. Hampshire said after the Newsnight interview and in the following months, it was clear that the Duke's reputation was irrecoverable. This was a common feeling with the royal household, despite what the Duke thought may happen. It was very clear internally within the royal household that we would have to look at options for the Duke's future away from royal duties. Mr. Hampshire added that while he appreciated Mr. Yang's loyalty and supported for standing by the Duke when all others were deserting him, Mr. Yang, referred to as Chris, categorically does not have a close relationship with the Duke. Mr. Yang, also known as Chris Yang, unsuccessfully challenged the decision to exclude him from the UK last year. Just at the SIAC decided the businessman was a close confidant of Prince Andrew and had won a significant degree, one could say an unusual degree, of trust from the Duke. In a separate statement released on Friday, Mr. Hampshire said, "The palace was kept informed of my commercial endeavors on behalf of the Duke of York, and full disclosure of all communications with Mr. Yang, the Hampton Group, and China was offered to both Buckingham Palace and the intelligence services. I'm now a private businessman, and none of my business interests are connected to any member of the royal family." All right, so that's breaking news that apparently is not good for Prince Andrew. So, all right. Yes, I should stay away from big words. It gives me a headache. It's Friday. I shouldn't have to say big words. Can't they put out simple news stories on Friday where you don't have to say big words? Denise giving him great. All right, that's grief. I love it. So Newsweek today reports on the first snap ban on candies and soda set to become a law. What do you think about this? I kind of agree with this. SNAP benefits, also known as food stamps, are administered nationwide to low and no income families that would otherwise struggle to purchase groceries. In 2024 fiscal year, the program served 130,900 Idaho residents, or 7% of the state population. But numerous states are considering banning certain purchases from being made using the anti-poverty benefit, Idaho being the first to pass bills in both chambers. All right, so House Bill 109, which has passed both sides, Idaho Senate and House Republicans, would ban candy and soda from being purchased on SNAP food stamps. The bill now heads to the governor's desk to be signed. The Idaho House approved the bill on Monday with a 48-20. The bill returned to the House after the Senate made amendments to refine the definition of candy. What needs it's sweet nectar from the gods. The passage and potential signing of the bill does not necessarily mean Idaho's SNAP recipients in Idaho will not immediately be impacted, as the ban will be subject to the USDA approval. No waivers are currently in place in any state that bar SNAP recipients from buying foods based on their nutritional value. However, this could be the subject to change under the current administration, and Newsweek has contacted the USDA for comment, and they have not replied. So there is a push at the federal level to see junk food purchases banned, And Republican John Breachin, a Republican from Oklahoma, introduced the Healthy Snap Act, which would make soft drinks, candy, ice cream, and prepared desserts ineligible from being purchased using SNAP benefits. In 2023, the program served an average of 42.1 million people nationwide, or 12.6% of U.S. residents. So some people are for it, obviously, and then, of course, there's the other people that are against it. They're saying some people look at it as they're controlling how we eat, which I can see their argument, but I think somehow we need to be able to come up with a way that they can still get some things, but it's not totally. But there's a whole system in place that doesn't work with them, because we've seen them sold for, well, I have seen them sold so that people can buy cigarettes and other non-nutritious items. So we'll leave it at that. Chris says, I think you would find the pharmaceutical industry would be against snack foods, taking off the eligibility items. It would be bad for their future business growth. Yes, I'm sure that they will be a lobbyist in Hershey and I don't know, Cadbury's. Oh, Cadbury's probably. Everybody, Hershey owns everybody. All right, so we're going to cover this, and there's actually a little truth to this and a little fictitiousness to this, I guess. Nowhere is safe. This comes to us from the BBC. Nowhere is safe. An island of penguins have been tariffed because are on Trump's tariff list. And a lot of news stations have run with this and made a huge joke of it. But we'll get into it here. Two tiny remote Antarctic outposts populated by penguins and seals are among the obscure places targeted by the Trump administration's new tariff. Heard, or is it Haired, and the McDonald's Islands are territories which sits 4,200 kilometers or 2,485 miles southwest of Australia, and are only accessible via a 7-day boat trip from Perth and haven't been visited by humans in almost a decade. Australian Trade Minister Don Farrell told the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, not our ABC, that the tariffs were clearly a mistake. Poor old penguins, I don't know what they did to Trump, but I think it's an indication, to be honest with you, that this was a rushed process. I like the different pictures here of Trump, because somebody pointed out to me, if you watch a news conference live and you jump between different mainstream medias, one of them has added a filter to make the president look different. I'll just let you do your own homework on that. But I looked at a video and said, that looks shady. In this picture, of course, obviously these are in two different times, but there's clearly a difference. President Trump on Wednesday unveiled a sweeping import tax scheme in retaliation for what he said are unfair trade barriers on U.S. products. A handful of other Australian territories were also hit by the new tariffs, in addition to the Norwegian archipelago, Svalbard, and the Falkland Islands, and the British Indian Ocean Territory. It just shows and exemplifies the fact that nowhere on earth is safe from this. They're not safe from Trump. The Australian Prime Minister is quoted as saying on Thursday, like the rest of Australia, the Heard and McDonald Islands, the Cocos, Keeling Islands, and Christmas Island are now subject to a tariff of 10%. A tariff of 29% was imposed on the Norfolk Island, which is also an Australian territory and has a population of 2,200 people. Heard Island, though it is barren, icy, and completely uninhabited, home to Australia's largest and only active volcano, Big Ben, and covered mostly by glaciers. It is believed the last time people ventured to the Heard Island was 2016, when a group of amateur radio broadcast enthusiasts broadcast from there with permission of the Australian government. Oh, that's kind of cool. Mike Coffin of the University of Tasmania has made the journey to the surrounding waters 7 times to conduct scientific research and is skeptical about the existence of major exports from the island to the U.S. There is nothing there, he told the BBC. As far as he knows, there is There are only two Australian companies which catch and export Patagonian toothfish and mackerel icefish. Didn't know that. What is in abundance, however, is a unique and spectacular nature. The islands are listed by the UNESCO World Heritage as a rare example of an ecosystem untouched by external plants, animals, or human impact. It is heavily colonized by penguins and elephant seals and all kinds of seabirds, said Professor Coffin, who studies the undersea geography of the island. He recalls observing from afar what he thought was a beach on the sands turned out to be probably a few 100,000 penguins. Every time a ship goes there and observes it, there's lava flowing down the flanks of Big Ben. He said, describing it sweeping over ice and sending it to steam. It's hard to get a clear picture of the trade relationship between the Heard and McDonald Islands and the U.S., but according to export data from the World Bank, the islands have, over the past few years, usually exported a small amount of products to the U.S., but in 2023, the U.S. imported 1.4 million or 2.23 million. That may be different. From the territory, nearly all of it unnamed machinery or electrical parts. The Guardian has also reported that an analyst of U.S. import data and shipping records suggests the tariffs imposed on the Heard and McDonald Islands, as well as Norfolk Islands, are based on incorrect data. It found shipments had been wrongly labeled as coming from the territories rather than their actual place of origin. The U.S. Department of Commerce and International Trades Administration, Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade has been contacted for comment. As with many governments around the world, the tariffs have frustrated Australian leaders, and they feel like it's not the act of a friend. Well, all right. Well, I think the key thing to take away there is there's some things being mislabeled as sent from there, and we need to find out what they are, because apparently in 1 year there was quite a bit. 2022, 1.4 million and 2.23 million. There's something coming from there. We just need to find out what it is. And what Chris says the right side picture looks like he stuck his head on a cotton candy machine. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about, Chris, but is it me? Wendell said the weather has killed at least 8 people. I didn't know that it was updated. Actually, I was thinking it was 9 as of yesterday, but I hadn't checked a recent update. I think 5 in Missouri, 4 in Tennessee. But the storms rage onward. So, the 2 Trump picks. Okay, got you, Chris. Got you. Yeah, they did make them look different. So this comes to us from the Dallas Morning News. It's a couple days old, but I thought you might like it. Governor Abbott, which is the Texas governor, has directed Texas Rangers to investigate Epic, which is a city, for potential criminal activities. The Texas Rangers are the Texas Rangers investigation is one of at least 5 announced investigations targeting East Plano Islamic Center, or Epic City, a Muslim-centric neighborhood development. Texas Greg Gabbert on Monday directed the Texas Rangers to open investigation into the East Plano Islamic Center and affiliated entities for possible and potential criminal activities. Epic is one of North Texas' largest mosques, has ties to Muslim-centric neighborhood development northeast of Dallas. Texas is a law and order state, and those scheming to evade law enforcement scrutiny must know justice is awaiting them, Abbott said in a news release. Texas will ensure that anyone affiliated with Epic who is breaking the law is brought to justice. A representative for the governor declined to share more information about the investigation. The Texas Rangers is one of at least 5 that are targeting Epic or Epic City. These include the Texas Attorney General, Texas Workforce Commission, Texas Board of Securities, the Texas Funeral Service Commission. That's an odd one. The Moss Board of Directors did not immediately respond to a request for comment, and a call to its current board president was not immediately returned. Epic City is a planned development of more than 1,000 homes, a K-12 faith-based school, a mosque, elderly assisted living, apartments, clinic, retail shops, a community college and sports field. Last year, some members of the Epic formed Community Capital Partners for profit entity managing the Epic City projects, stated. On Friday, Abbott said the Texas Workforce Commission is investigating Epic for potentially discriminating against non-Muslims in a news release. Abbott said the neighborhood's developers are potentially breaking state fair housing laws by refusing to sell or rent to certain groups of people based on religious or other personal traits. Yes, and one resident, the resident scholar at Epic, told the Daily Morning News that Epic City is open to anyone regardless of religion. We have to dispel this notion. This is an inclusive community, is open for all, and anybody who is interested is more than welcome to, here's a key word, apply. You have to apply to be a member of this exclusive city. Obviously, we understand it's going to have a greater appeal to those of a certain background, he said. If certain people want to live in a community where there is a faith-based mosque or temple or a synagogue that's within walking distance, why should they not be allowed that freedom? Last Thursday, Texas said the state securities board is investigating Epic for potential failures to comply with applicable and state federal securities requirements, including protections against fraud. Abbott alleged that the group held by Epic may be misleading investors. The Texas State Securities Board confirmed it is investigating. So they're conducting investigations that they are doing no financial harm that has been caused by Epic, I guess, to the state. And ongoing investigations include illegal activities by Epics. All entities in Texas must follow law, not Shira law. I think that's one of the key things there. Last Tuesday, Paxton announced that his office is investigating whether the development project violates Texas consumer protection law. Paxton is seeking information relevant to that investigation. Under my watch, there will be zero tolerance for any person or entity that breaks Texas law. Paxton did not provide more details on the investigations. So it's going to be interesting because now they've hired a high-profile attorney saying that the state is violating their rights. In February, Abbott posted about the development on X. To be clear, Shira law is not allowed in Texas, nor are Shira cities, nor are no-go zones, which this project seems to imply. Bottom line, the project as proposed in the video is not allowed in Texas. Shira is the moral code of followers of Islam, but the interpretation administrations varies based on different sects, communities, countries, and individuals, according to the Council on American Islamic Relations. There is no single Shira code, similar to how that is uniform body of law for the thousands of Christian sects throughout the world. All right. So, Wendell says he just got that message from the weather app. Okay. Remember the good old, Chris says, remember the good old days when it was just assumed every state was a law and order state and officials didn't have to make the need. Yes. We're no longer the Wild West. Well, Wendell says he remembers when it was against the law. So, all right, we're not news heavy today. We're going to get into our normal wheelhouse of things, but there's just a few things. Australia sizes up continent size gap in air defenses. Melbourne, Australia, the Australian military's leaders are scrambling to cobble together fresh air defense capabilities as China's military arsenal is growing and Beijing's warships has started showing up in Australia. Global companies offered weaponry to that end at a recent international air show held in Melbourne late in March. For now, it appears that the military leaders are prizing sensors over interceptors and what be Australia's future network of weapons defending would-be targets in a conflict. Air Vice Marshal Nick Hogan, head of Air Force capability, acknowledged that an integrated medium-range air defense capability has been delayed. What's most important to us is seeing and sensing first, so getting the command and control right first, and then getting the kinetics that might need to be required to affect anything coming towards us. Hogan was referring primarily to Project Air 6500, which is slowly delivering an integrated air battle management system. One lesson from Ukraine is the need for an air defense, and Hogan said Australia was learning from evolution seen globally. However, Australia currently owns only NASM batteries and 3 air warfare destroyers, while major Australian cities and military bases are often not on coasts, there are simply not enough ships to protect them all. Furthermore, it is likely the U.S. will demand an air defense umbrella to protect a nuclear submarine base being established in Western Australia. The Defense Strategic Review of 2023 urged acceleration of the medium range and high speed missile defense system, with authors lamenting the low priority placed on integrated air and missiles defenses. Instead of pursuing a long term, near perfect solution at an unaffordable cost, the review said the government must allocate sufficient resources to the Chief of our Air Force to deliver the initial capability in a timely manner. According to Hogan, the ground based defenses may not be the ideal solution for Australia. When you have limited inventory, you want to be able to as flexible as possible. So that might be using maritime stocks on land. It might be using land stocks in a maritime domain. There are many options to go forward. What we're trying to do is make sure where possible we can get the biggest return on investment using sovereign capabilities. Asking about timeline for implementation, when they're going to put it in, Hogan said, as soon as we can practically make it happen. Potential solutions such as Raytheon's Patriot and systems from Israel and South Korea were being promoted at the Avalon Air Show 2025, and they have begun addressing Australia's weakness in countering drones, albeit at a limited level. Last year, Australia signed a 3-year deal to trial a counter-drone capability at the Royal Air Force Base Darwin in the north, but this is an isolated step forward. Nonetheless, Air Marshal Stephen Chappell, Chief of Air Force, said, we're investing in our northern base infrastructure, including the ability to passively defend, use deception to be able to recover, to be able to agilely move forces around. Hardened aircraft shelters are no longer part of the equation. That was a fantastic concept for its day, but probably its day has passed. We're already working with our civilian sector and our industry sectors in the northern half of Australia using non-military airfields to land, refuel, and in the future rearm combat aircrafts or other aircraft in order to regenerate air power from non-military bases. That's interesting. A recent report by the U.S.-based Hudson Institute think tank, I love those think tanks, assessed that as few as 10 missiles, each with a warhead spraying cluster munitions over a 450-foot diameter, would neutralize all aircraft parked in the open at various key U.S.-Australian bases. The Australian situation is no different. Likewise, loitering munitions could easily penetrate regular aircraft shelters. Air Vice Marshal Glenn Braz, the Air Commander Australia, argued the Air Service is very deliberate about their passive efforts to protect bases. As threats evolve and warfares evolve, we seek to have layers of our defense system that we want to have in place. But we are very much training our teams to fight the network of bases as a system. Meanwhile, that's a lot of government talk. Meanwhile, officials use the Avalon Air Show to provide an assessment of key aerial platforms in the pipeline. They had good things to say about the F-35s, the 5th generation warplanes by Lockheed Martin. We had the last 9 aircraft arrive in December, so we're thrilled to have our 72 F-35s with us as Australians across the 3 operational squadrons, the training unit and integrating center, he told the Defense News. Eliminating the Royal Air Force continued testing of the Boeing Defence Australia's MQ-28A Ghost Bat unmanned aircraft, he said. He is very pleased with the progress. This year, I like that name, Ghost Bat. This year, we're going to demonstrate the capabilities of the platform over a number of activities, Hogan said. We'll test all the payloads. We've planned potential use on the platform, with the exception of it being armed. That it remains in our thinking, but we're not going to focus on the payloads first. Wouldn't you want to focus on what it carries first because of the weight? Competition for the ghost bat is brewing. I need to Google that and see what a ghost bat looks like. Is brewing under the Project Air 6015, where the Royal Air Force will make recommendations to the government on ways forward for collaborative combat aircraft, probably by year's end. Hogan said the MQ-28A will be a very strong contender in any options we take forward. Regardless, they believe that the YFQ-44A Fury stands a chance. The American company displayed the full-size model of the aircraft at the Avalon show. All right, so what they're saying is, Australia, like us, your air defense is probably lacking, and there's some gaps. So, yes, we must be concerned about it. And I did read another report last night, and I had to chuckle, but there was some truth to it. In a mainstream news media company, it might have been named Charlie Nora, reported that, wait for this, Iran was going to protect Greenland from the United States. That was reported by a mainstream network, and it could have been Charlie Nora. I can't swear to it, but anyhow. And I just had to giggle because I'm like, really? But yet I could not find any credible news sources for that other than the one. So Iran is going to protect Greenland. Yeah. They offer, now I will say I did find credible sources where they promised that they would assist Canada and Greenland if we invaded. But they just basically sent a letter and said, hey, we'll be there for you guys. Wait for it. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I couldn't get away from this story no matter how hard I tried. It just kept popping up as trending. It kept popping up as in breaking. And so I just had to report it, even though I don't really care. But Russell Brand is charged with rape and sexual assault. The comedian, actor, and author has been charged with oral rape and indecent assault following an investigation by the Met Police. Russell Brand has been charged with rape and 2 counts of sexual assault between 1999 and 2005. The Metropolitan Police says the 50-year-old comedian, actor, and author has been charged with 1 count of oral rape and 1 count of indecent assault. The charges relate to 4 women. He is due to appear at Westminster Magistrate Court on Friday, 2 May. Police have said Brandt is accused of raping women in the Bournemouth area in 1999 and indecently assaulting a woman in Westminster area of London in 2001. He's also accused of orally raping and sexually assaulting a woman in Westminster in 2004. The 4th charge is alleged that the woman was sexually assaulted in Westminster between 2004 and 2005. Police began investigating Brand from Oxfordshire in September of 2023 after receiving a number of allegations. The comedian has denied the accusations, said he has never engaged in any non-consensual activity. He added in a video on X, "Of course, I'm now going to have the opportunity to defend these charges in courts, and I'm incredibly grateful for that." Metropolitan Police Detective Superintendent Andy Furphy, who is leading the investigation, said the women who have all made reports continue to receive support from specially trained officers. The Met's investigation remains open, and detectives ask anyone who has been affected by this case or anyone who has information come forward and speak to the 5-0. So I couldn't get away from that reporting. I don't know. It's trending. So there you go. It's out there. And this is trending too. And I don't know. Wendell, I'm not even going to say that over the radio. I would tell you to Google it, but it's probably not in your best. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that alone, Wendell. Well, that obviously isn't the headline. This was trending too. Liam Neeson, and if you remember him, he's the one from Taken. He's that guy that I have a very precise skill set. I will hunt you down, find you, and kill you. Well, he's set to star in the Naked Gun reboot. And there's a trailer release complete with date of release. The Oscar nominated actor Liam Neeson is reprising the role of late acting and comedic legend Leslie Nielsen in the comedic franchise Naked Gun. A teaser trailer for a new reboot dropped at CinemaCon Thursday, giving fans of the original police spoof a first look. The 72-year-old Taken star is playing Lieutenant Frank Drebin Jr., the son of Nielsen's titular character, and in the film he'll use his particular set of skills to lead a police squad and follow in his father's footsteps, according to the Paramount Pictures UK description. Were you a fan of the original series? Here's a look at the trailer. And you can go over to X and check it out because I can't play it on YouTube. It is scheduled to be released in theaters the 1st of August, 2025. And the cast includes him, Liam Neeson, Paul Walter Hauser, Pamela Anderson, Kevin Durand, Danny Houston, Lisa Koshy, Cody Rhodes. He's the wrestler. David Lingle, Busta Rhymes, Michael Beasley, and Wilbur Fitzgerald. That is according to the Austin American Statesman, also the USA Today. So, yeah. And I don't know, what is this? I didn't ask for this. What is this? I don't know what this article is, so we're just going to skip it. All right. If we have time, we'll come back and cover sports, and we will cover some other things. But let's get to what we do every day. And for those of you that are regular viewers and listeners, okay, hold on. Let's see. Hold on. I need to go back in the comments here. I'm going to go. Yes. I remember when it is. Wendell says, I remember when it is against the law to harbor fugitives. Now there are states that are protecting criminals. Denise says she has to run the doctor. See you soon. Hope you're well, Denise. Let us know. And let's see. Wendell, he must not have been any good. Well, I'm just going to leave it right there, Wendell. All right. So those of you that know what we do here, basically there's channels on YouTube and there's podcasts and there's shows that tell you, well, why you're going to die today, how the world's going to end today. And I mean, I've seen so many of them, some of them predicting things, horrible things to come in 18 days or 16 days on 420. And I don't know. Our purpose here is to tell you, you're going to survive today. And here's why: the adults are in charge. So we always start with a daily operations briefing that is released by FEMA. And this is the same briefing the president gets, except ours doesn't get the secret squirrel mojo stuff that they add in for them. So we're slightly delayed, but this one is dated Friday, April 4th at 8:30 a.m. And the new significant events and the ongoing events they're worried about are severe weather in the southern plains to mid-Atlantic. And this is from that slow-moving storm. And they're saying it's going to continue from Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Texas. I don't know what the heck that means, but to the Ohio Valley. Basically, it's going to extend from the mid-southwest all the way to the Ohio Valley before it eventually gets out of here up in the northeast. Excessive rainfall, flash flooding in the Mississippi Valley to Ohio Valley. There's been major declarations for emergency declared in Kentucky, Missouri, and Tennessee. The severe weather and flooding is going to affect the southern plains to the mid-Atlantic. And as we discussed the other day, or for the past couple days, this is going to pretty much go from the Canadian border to the Mexican border, with the most intense area being right in the center from the corner of Texas, all of Louisiana, parts of Arkansas, Tennessee, up into Ohio, Kentucky, and possibly extending into West Virginia, with as much as 10 inches of rain is possible per hour. And severe flooding will continue, and it's going to continue for the next couple days. So be weather aware. I always preach that. And what's the new one I heard? Don't drown, turn around. So they're encouraging not to drive in water that is deeper than 2 inches, I think. Don't drive in flooded areas, which is hard to do at night because you can't exactly tell, but be careful. We'll zoom in on this map a little bit here. Let me center it for you. And this is from FEMA, and this is their different regions. where they're forecasting the rain to be anywhere from light rain to the most severe being greater than 20 inches. So the worst part of it is going to be south of Springfield and northwest of Austin, covering pretty much all of Arkansas down to Little Rock in a corner of Tennessee there, West Tennessee, going across, traveling up north through Louisville. So if you're in those areas, be weather aware. There's going to be some significant flooding over the next couple days. And if you've lived in the South long enough, you know that just because the rain's gone doesn't mean that the potential for flooding is gone. And then if you've lived in the South long enough, you're also aware that there's a serious potential for mudslides. So be weather aware. We'll go back in case anybody wanted to see it. I will zoom in a little bit on this one. And this is FEMA's map of the most significant area. And as we talked about, it's pretty much from Dallas to St. Louis. That little region right there in the Midwest, Southeast is going to be hammered, but pretty much anywhere from Canada to Mexico, laterally from the, what would that be, southeast, northeast from Texas is going to be affected by this. So please be weather aware. I encourage everyone to have a weather radio. I encourage everybody to also have a tool and a flashlight nearby at all times. And the Commonwealth of Kentucky has declared an emergency. They have not isolated one particular county. They have requested it for all 120 counties, and that is being approved, and FEMA is assisting them. And in Tennessee, they have declared an emergency, and they've declared it for all counties. So, and they're asking for severe assistance with storms, straight line winds, tornadoes, and flooding. And we'll look at today's national weather forecast. We'll also look at it updated on the National Weather Service site. But we see that there's some snow in Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, and parts of South Dakota, North Dakota. And then there's going to be a mix that's going to go pretty much from the Arizona, New Mexico border, laterally through Colorado, Nebraska, up through the Dakotas into Minnesota, where it's going to be mixed precipitation. My friend in Colorado sent me a great video, and it's a picture looking out from a building, and I can see all the white, which first I thought was beach, but it's obviously snow. And I hear this, what I thought was a siren. I was like, tornado siren in Colorado in the snow? It was a train. I was like, I told her, I said, I've lived in the South too long. I thought that was a tornado siren. All right. So we see a large portion of the country is going to get today some wet precipitation, depending on where you live as to the intensity of it. But pretty much all of the country is going to get some precipitation, except for maybe Maine and out on the West Coast. That's would be about it. But everybody else, it's not going to be a soaker, but well, unless you're in the area of the flood zone. Otherwise, it's going to be spotty. Saturday, we're going to see it continue, but Saturday is going to cause for potentials of the tornadoes to return because that front will have moved back across and will now be tapping the Gulf moisture and energy. So at that time, look for parts of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, most of Tennessee, and all of Kentucky up into West Virginia to experience some potential severe thunderstorms. And let's see, Sunday, that will diminish slightly, but it will still cover most of Georgia and Alabama, so we'll be weather aware. In Missouri on Sunday, we'll get some snow all the way up to the tippy top toes of Maine there, with Vermont included. So Vermont is going to get some heavy rain, snow, thunder boomers. Yeah, they've got a weird weather in Vermont. I don't understand it. All right, so the severe weather outlook, this is for Friday. And we see that the most severe is pretty much all of Arkansas, a corner of Texas, and right there at the fringe of Tennessee, West Tennessee, and the fringe of Kentucky. So be weather aware. That's going to continue. But like I said, it's going to get that energy from the Gulf of America, and that'll pull that energy and wetness all the way up into possibly West Virginia. So Sunday it'll diminish slightly, but it'll pretty much be Alabama and Georgia that are in the worst zone. Monday will probably be for Florida, but hopefully we'll get this out of here and we'll get a little bit of weather calm. All right, so this is the estimated rainfall that has been received over the past 72 hours. And if you look at it from Little Rock going laterally northeast, Nashville, Louisville, Cincinnati to Pittsburgh have gotten a considerable, let's see what the chart says, anywhere from, we'll say, 2 to 8 inches of rain, depending on the section where you're in. And then over here through Sunday night, they're calling for additional rainfall in that same area. It will extend a little bit more to the east, covering all of Alabama, Tennessee, and Atlanta, and parts of the Atlantic coast through Sunday night. But the main line of that is still just going to sit there and be nasty. And Wendell says, I have just got a cranked radio with flashlight and rechargeable batteries and double no. Had to Alabama translate there. AA batteries. Got you, Wendell. Yes, it's always a good idea. We're in the South. We're in tornado season. A hand-cranked radio is a great idea. When all else fails, you will have a hand-cranked radio. I have a hand-cranked flashlight that, to me, is nothing more than irritation, and especially now that the kids are grown, I can't give it to them to tell them to leave me alone. But at any rate, April 4th through the 6th, which is today for the next couple days. Friday, we see they really wanting people to know in that section from Mexican border down to the pretty much Detroit, Cleveland, Canadian border. Be weather aware. There's going to be a lot of rain and slop, specifically in the center of that bullseye from St. Louis to Dallas, with Little Rock and part of Tennessee being in the gun. Saturday, it's going to move slightly east, but the problem is this thing is just sitting there and it's nasty. So we want to get it out, but it's going to take a couple days, folks. So remain calm. We'll get through this. It sucks at the moment, but we'll do fine. This is the latest river forecast, and they're calling for catastrophic major river flooding through next week. And like we were just discussing, just because the rain stopped doesn't mean the water stopped, especially the further south you go, because all that water is going to be going somewhere. So they're calling for some major catastrophic river flooding through next week. And that's pretty much going to extend from just south of Little Rock up to Cincinnati, over to Louisville, Nashville, on the opposite side, St. Louis, Missouri, Jefferson City, probably. So the only plus with it being coming through some of the Tennessee Valley region is we will be able to capture that energy for electricity through hydroelectric dams. All right, so we know there are 31 field offices. There are 90 major disasters working right now, 9 emergency declarations, and they're doing rehousing in 10 different missions with 20 supported disasters and 6 recovery offices. So basically, let's translate that for civilians. What that means is FEMA is pretty much full steam ahead in the areas that are hit. They're calling in resources from areas that are not hit, and they're also tapping local and state resources. There are USAR teams that have been activated in both Maryland, Virginia, Georgia, areas that weren't hit as hard, even down into the Miami region, and they're coming to assist you with their fire departments and their different resources, but it just will take a little time. They did start pre-positioning some things, and they're already pre-positioning some of the swift water teams for next week behind the scenes that people don't see. So teams like, let's just say Miami, may be staged in Nashville because they specialize in water rescue. The Coast Guard may have more of a presence in St. Louis than they normally do because they specialize in water rescue. So they're going to start moving resources for next week's flooding, but they had already moved some resources ahead of this storm, and they're getting them to the people in need. So this is the preliminary damage assessment, and it's really not that great to give out at this time because, well, this is still ongoing, and Missouri has requested a declaration of request. They have not requested like the other states, all states. It's pretty much the lower, what would that be, the southeast tip of Missouri, all those counties. And there's 11 different declarations in process, and those go back to the beginning of the, some of those go back to the beginning of the year. So that's pretty much your daily FEMA report. We hit the top of the hour there at 2:00, and I forgot to say it. Thank you to Radio X in Australia. Thank you to Yerg's Radio and Rainbow Radio. We appreciate your support, and we want to encourage everybody that's listening on the radio. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are in your part of the world. You're listening to Glenn Sportcat Jackson do the Sportcat Daily Gazette. I encourage you to come over and join our chat on YouTube. We have a great chat, and plus it helps us get our numbers up and benefit from being monetized, which we are so close to. So I really, really need your assistance to come over and find us on YouTube, Paranormal, 3 different words, Paranormal, and then guys, that's us, Guyz, or you can search out Sportcat's Daily Gazette. Please come over, like, course, obviously we want you to subscribe, hit that notification button so you know whenever we're live, because whatever time of the world you're in, we kind of have a show going on. Wednesday night we do a Paranormal show, and each week we try and find guests that are either somehow related to the paranormal, or we also interview people who may just have a story to tell, and it could be anyone from your next door neighbor to a famous athlete or actor. You never know who we're going to have on. This week, we're going to have a pretty famous comic book artist and author and a yet to be named guest. So that will be Wednesday night on our paranormal show. And Monday night, my 2 girls, 2 of my witches, I have a team of witches. I got to be good to them or they'll curse me. They have a horror show, and they're covering all things horror, everything from movies to TV shows to comic books. And they're on Monday evenings, Eastern time, so you can come check them out. Of course, if you're a subscriber, you can always go back and look. They're always going to be on YouTube. And I also roll everything audio over to Spotify, which distributes it to Apple, Amazon, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. But please come over to our YouTube channel and help us out and get monetized, because right now we're doing this for free. I haven't even got a sponsor. And if you want to buy me a Mellow Yellow or Mountain Dew, Sundrop, Green Goodness until the JFK Jr. takes it away, the links are in my chat or in my show description. A lot of my friends are doing the buy a coffee. I don't like coffee, so I feel like it's advertising poorly if I ask you to buy me a coffee when I don't drink coffee. So there you go. If you want to buy me a Mountain Dew, you can. All right, after we look at our daily briefing from FEMA, we always look at, well, where our leader is, our fearless leader, Donald J. Trump. Well, he is out of Washington, which is funny because yesterday some people decided that they were going to have a bomb scare right outside of the White House, and he wasn't even there. So he left D.C. yesterday to come to Florida. He went to I looked it up. It was described on his calendar as an LIV event. And I found out that LIV is apparently European golf. They were trying to merge European golf and the U.S. golf. I guess there's a golf association. They're trying to merge them into one so that we have a world golf. So he went to a dinner with groups from the 2 different golfing agencies. But they had a 6:45 a.m., which is extremely unusual. They haven't said why, and I haven't really been watching the news to see if there's something breaking. But usually the pool camera time is 9 a.m. They had an extremely rare 6:45 a.m. for the out-of-town press pool for Mar-a-Lago. And there's nothing on the calendar until tonight at 7:30. where they're having a candlelight dinner for a MAGA event, which is if you don't know, Make America Great Again. So there's obviously something a brewing, and we probably won't find out for about another 3 hours because they're famous for doing 5 o'clock press drops on Friday. So, and let's see. Wendell asked, did Tennessee request a wind effect storm warning for your aunt's attic after you eat all the Taco Bell? Wendell, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't left this house in almost a month. It's going to change today. I think I'm going comic book shopping. So, but yeah, I haven't left in almost a month. I've been here taking care of family. It's been what I do. So, but we have the AC on now, so it's much better. So, all right. So there was nothing on the calendar today besides for that 6:45 a.m. press call time, which I'm sure the reporters just love because they're going to have to follow him around to the 7:30 event. And then it's a closed press, so they're only going to be allowed certain areas where they can take pictures or try and grab a comment from somebody that's going to be at the event. And I do not know who is going to be at the event. We might look if we get a little bit of extra time and see if there's any planes coming into Mar-a-Lago that could be carrying VIPs. So, all right, so that's the president's schedule. We don't really know what he's doing today. We just know that he wanted the press there early for it. Maybe he just wanted to piss them off. I don't know. Don't know. So this is the Daily National Weather Service, the United States Weather Service briefing. I'll just hit this real quick because it's nothing more than we covered, really. They just updated it slightly, but we can still see that cone of danger in the center of the Mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley down into the southwest. And it will continually moving eastward. And eventually, tomorrow, it will affect me here in East Tennessee, in Knoxville, where I will be in the way of the Tornado Alley. And it will continue until Sunday, but it's going to be further south where the energy is on Sunday. And if we go back and look, let me make sure before I say it, there was no credible threats for tropical weather in the Atlantic. Let me make sure. Yep. All right. I checked it before I came on, but I wanted to make sure, and nothing in the Pacific. So we have that. All right. So we're going to go to Zoom Earth. Zoom Earth is what we're using to get our weather for different parts of the world we're not familiar with. So we're looking at the satellite view currently of Australia, and we see that it's not really a cloudy day unless you're in pretty much the middle of the continent in South Australia, Alice Springs, or if you're over on the coast around the Brisbane area down to Sydney. Otherwise, it's unremarkable. Let's see what the radar says. And it looks like a little bit northeast, northwest of Perth is getting some rain. Down in Melbourne, it's going to be a little rainy, and some spotty showers off of the Cairns, Townsville, Mackay, Rockhampton, Brisbane. And I apologize to my Australian listeners if I am saying any of the names wrong or incorrectly. Please forgive me. My Southern English and Southern education from the United States hasn't taught me all the names properly. So feel free to scold me. Just please be kind. Let's see. Precipitation. No significant precipitation except from Perth. And I know that they're really enjoying that over in Queensland and New South Wales as they're trying to recover from the flooding. Up in Darwin, you're going to get some rain, but it's not going to be as significant as it looks down into the Perth south of Perth into the west. And the winds across Australia, well, it's going to be a bit of a breezy day across the continent today. Pretty much on the southern side of the state, all of the southern side of the continent, all of that energy is going to be pulled up out of the ocean and move westward. Over on the east side, it looks like it's going to be a relatively calm day as far as winds. Of course, we'll look at it a little later and see. All right, so this is as of 2:11 Eastern Standard Time, and these temperatures are in Fahrenheit, so I apologize to our listeners in Australia. But right now in Perth, it's 66. Cameravon, good Lord, I think I just had a stroke, is 70s, high 70s. Port Hedgeland, you're in the 80s. Broome, 81. Darwin, 81. We're skipping around the coast there to Cairns at 77, Townsville 79, McKay 77, Rockhampton 74, Brisbane, you're cooler today, it's 69, Sydney is 65, 46 in Canberra, Melbourne 56, Adelaide 53, and right in the center at Alice Springs, it's 59. These are all in Fahrenheit, so I apologize to my listeners in advance for, I know you prefer Celsius, but can I convert this quickly? I don't know what that just means, but apparently didn't do what I wanted it to do. Settings. Let's see if I can change this real quick. No. Let's see, distance, kilometers, area in kilometers. Yeah, I can do that. Well, that helps some. Celsius. There we go. All right, let's see now what I can do. Here we are. Much better. All right, so down in Perth, you're 19. Oh, man. Is it Carnarvon or Carnarvon? It's 25. It is in Onslow, 26. Cartha, 27. Port Hedland, 27. Broome, 27. I know this sounds so strange to our listeners in the United States. These are Celsius degrees. Darwin, 27. It is certainly not cold in Australia, I can tell you that. And let's see, down on the southwest, southeast side of the continent, it is cold at 15 in lower western Australia. Albany 17, and I did that for a reason because I don't know that I can pronounce some of these. So Norseman is 14. How about that? South Australia and Port Augusta is 15. In Adelaide is 12. In Victor Harbor, 14. And we'll zoom out slightly. In Melbourne, 13. And Sydney, 18. All right, so we'll be going to the northeast. Cairns is 25. Townsville, 26. McKay, 25. All right, so there, I figured out how to do it in Celsius for my listeners. Now I got to remember to switch it back for my United States temperatures. Let's figure that out real quick. So yeah, I did that again. I can do this quickly, and I don't need a whole lot of help from Chris, maybe from Wendell. All right, so here we go. All right, so across the United States, it's going to be cold or chilly up in Seattle at 51. Down in San Diego, it's only going to get to a high of about 60s. Whereas right now in the South, Houston, you're 84, Memphis, 81. We're about 80-some degrees here in Knoxville, 84 in Atlanta. Up in Vermont, it is currently 45. Over in Buffalo, 45. And up along Bismarck, it's near freezing or below freezing. Billings, 34. Rapid City, 34. Denver, 36. Salt Lake, 42. Omaha, 47. So you can see that cold front is sitting up here in the Pacific Northwest and is still trying to push its way southeast. So, there's still some holdouts there with the warmth. We'll see if that continues for the next few days. Oh, Wendell's leaving us. Wendell, you don't have to go. You're my only listener. No, you're not, Wendell. I'm messing with you. Wendell, be safe. Have a great weekend. I will see you next week. We look at the satellite of the United States, and we can still see the cloud cover from the center of the country where it's the strongest, and we can see that it's just starting to tap that Gulf of America air. All right, we'll go to the rain. Let's go to the precipitation, and we'll look and see, as we discussed, the heaviest rains are going to be from Dallas to St. Louis, with that little section of Springfield, Missouri, Little Rock, and Tulsa. That area is going to get the most dousing. And currently, it's raining the heaviest. It looks like in Indianapolis, Springfield, Illinois, over in Louisville, and where is that? It's in West Virginia. So it's still trying. We'll look at the winds a little closer here in a bit, but it looks like that wind, that energy is starting to pick up coming out of the Gulf of America, and it's going to be pushing. It's still pushing to the northeast, but it's being that front is trying to contain it, but it will get the energy tomorrow and the next day. All right, so that's the wind. We looked at the satellite, the rain. Let's go to our next map. I prefer this map. This map comes to us from GEMA, which, if you're not familiar, is the Georgia Emergency Management Agency, the state in which I reside. I like this because it not only shows us everything from recent earthquakes, it shows us warnings and watches on the map as well. It breaks it down by county. The radar is also on here, which we just discussed. The area is going to get the most significant rain and are currently receiving rain. We see out in New Mexico, there are several areas of the upper right or the upper northeast section of the state. From the Four Corners over, getting some serious winter storms. They're under a winter storm warning. And they're down in the south, there's a tornado watch, and that extends from Dallas over to, where's that? Louisiana, Shreveport, and up to just south of Little Rock. Those are the current ones. The flash flood watches, corner of Tennessee, Arkansas, and right now it's starting to take effect into the lower Louisville, Kentucky, Bowling Green region into Tennessee. So I'll have to get closer to the microphone because it sounds like the lawn guy is here. All right, so that is our current radar. We'll look at warnings real quick. Chris, look at this. Andy's doing a test message. WTF, man. Don't get it. All right, so we have a test message from Andy. And let's see. Flash flood warnings in Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, a wind advisory. And down in Guam, you have some rip current statements. Tornado watches in Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Texas. They have several special weather statements in Oklahoma, New Mexico as well. And that tornado watch is pretty much going to take later today the entire state of Arkansas. Kentucky and West Virginia are under some flood warnings. We talked about up in the Dakotas, the winter weather advisories, a beach hazard in California, and then we get back into the different flood warnings down in the south. And, well, we don't talk about this one too often. Alaska has a blizzard warning along the coast of the Norton Sound in the Yukon Delta. All right, so they have a current blizzard warning in Alaska. Interesting. We don't see that too often this time of year. High surf advisory in Alabama and Florida. That's because that energy is coming in. It's also going to cause some rip currents, so be careful there. And let's see if we see anything else that jumps out, but otherwise it's all the flood warnings and watches. And Colorado, a winter storm warning. My friends down in Colorado, any higher elevations in the wet mountains. I don't know. I didn't know that. Southern Sangre de Cristo Mountains are going to get some winter weather, the higher elevations. I hope my friend in Colorado is enjoying that Yankee dander because I want no part of it. All right. So we'll look here on the right. We see the activity. Pretty much we keep hammering it in, be weather aware. And that section of the country from Texas up to pretty much Pennsylvania, New England, New York border of Canada is got some activity expected. The severe thunderstorms today are pretty much Texas through all of Arkansas, portion of Tennessee, and then you're going to get into Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky. Wind advisory is going to be the strongest today, right around the corner of Tennessee there. And the tornadic activity is that little section of the country right there in the middle. So, all right. And this is brought to you, in case anybody is new to the channel, by Weather Warn, WX Warn. You can Google it. It's a free site. They do have a place to get tips. I do highly recommend you use their service. All right. So this is the real-time lightning map. You can go to lightningmaps.org. And I recommend this if you are a weather nerd and you can see where the severe lightning is at the moment. Looks like in the northwest section of Dallas, you're getting hammered. That's going to continue up to the north, just to the east of Oklahoma, Tulsa, West Tulsa, and western part of Oklahoma is right now under the gun with some severe lightning, and it's going to be extend up into Springfield, Illinois, up along the Mark Twain National Forest, where you will see just south of Jefferson City the heaviest right now. Some sporadic lightning over to the east. When I say east, I'm talking about St. Louis to Louisville. There's a little band of straight line storms. And if you're in Memphis and you're outside the perimeter of Memphis on the eastern side, northeastern side, you're experiencing a little thunder boomer right now. And then let's see what we have down here. This is just south of Blacksburg. It looks like they've got a little thunder boomer around Christiansburg, Pulaski, Stewart area. So if you're in that area, just southwest of Roanoke, due south of Blacksburg, they've got a little thunder boomer there. And that looks to be it. Well, there's a little slight one just south of the border there from Texas, just south of, how do you pronounce that? Ciudad Juarez? I don't know. There's just a little thunder boomer. All right, so that is your lightningmaps.org. One thing we always talk about every day is the air quality. Some days are better than worse. And we look here pretty much from El Paso, following the Mexican border, following Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and the Panhandle is going to be kind of moderate air conditions, extending up pretty much all of Georgia into the Appalachia, leaping over into East Tennessee, moderate air conditions. A lot of that's going to be pollen. And if you're in the metropolitan Washington, D.C. area south, along the Atlantic coastline, you can expect some moderate quality air conditions. Doesn't look like there's anywhere too severe today. There's a little section of Minnesota up there that is got some moderate air conditions, air conditions, and a part of Kansas in the northwest border. You can find this at airnow.gov, and it is updated regularly to see what your local air quality is. I always bring up the tree pollen map because, well, it's damn near killing you this time of year. And we see that the East Tennessee Valley, northwest Georgia, northeast Georgia, all of North Alabama, and pretty much both Carolinas, it's a horrible, very high tree pollen day. And the weed pollen isn't that bad. Grass pollen is beginning to be an issue as it rises up from the warm temperatures from the Gulf of America extending up. And it looks like the breathing index isn't too bad today in the United States. Nor is the aches and pain index. All right. That is brought to you by the Weather Channel. So if you want to find out what the current conditions are for the air quality in your area, go to the Weather Channel and look at their allergy maps. We talk about wildfires daily and their effects on the air quality as well. Well, I use this map, and this is brought to us by Data USA Today, and this shows us the movement of the smoke from the fires. And we see that the current smoke is pretty much on the southwestern and pretty much crossing over Venezuela, Guatemala City, where the smoke is today. So it's mostly out in the Gulf of America on the southwestern section, out there where all my buddies on the oil rigs are listening. So hopefully they can enjoy a little bit of good air today and it's not too smoky. I do not use this for the fires because it is not as reliable. And I'll show you, I actually got a different one today I'm going to show you. Let's look here at the wind map real quick. I want to update this to make sure we got the most recent wind. Looking at the wind map, this is currently for 1410 Eastern time, The highest wind speeds in the United States are currently at 30 miles an hour. And it always looks to be somewhere around Denver that we find that. You would think it would be up along Chicago where the Windy City is. But we see the energy being pulled out of the Gulf of America, extending up to the mid-Atlantic, going out to the northeast. And we see that pretty much on the west side of the country, it is actually not very windy at all today. Most of the wind is pretty much being pulled over the Pacific region down from pretty much it's coming from Seattle down towards Los Angeles. All right, we'll look at the fire map. And if you have never seen this, this is from the Forestry Service. The U.S. Forestry Service has partnered with NASA to show you where the fires are. I prefer this map because it's more in real time, but the disadvantages are if you see these little red dots, these are not actual fire. Well, they may be fires, but it's a satellite view that has detected a heat or smoke signature. Like here in Knoxville, for instance, is detecting one, and this could be an actual fire, or it could actually be a house fire, but it has detected something in what part of town is that? That's in North Knoxville, just off of, okay, now that could be a brush fire in that region. So it's probably detecting it up on Sharps Ridge. I'll check and see if there's anything on the local news about that tonight. But you see, there's not always, they have it as a red dot because it's not a confirmed fire until they get boots on the ground. We know that the storms in the Appalachian Mountains are still being battled. Rattlesnake Branch, Deep Woods Forest Fire, Table Rock, Big Ridge is burning, and Alarka in the Appalachian Valley. And this is parts of northeast Georgia, the tip of South Carolina, and North Carolina at the Appalachian Mountains. And it is continuing to be, well, they're still fighting it. It's not growing yet. Down in Florida, we see they're still having this forest fires down southeast. Looks like it's a little bit southeast of Umatilla and down in the East Marsh region, which is not far from Daytona Beach. And then we look further south. Red Horse is now reporting a fire, which is due east of St. Petersburg. Looks as though they've got the fires quenched down in South Florida, and there's no problems in the Everglades or the Keys. I just made a friend with the Florida wildlife down there and was talking to her about skunk ape. So she had some interesting perspectives on it. So we look across the west in the Midwest in Tucson, Phoenix area. You have the one fire in Irwin, and I'm sorry, it's the bull fire in Irwin. And over in California, they're still battling one fire in Silver, which is 1,611 acres. And it is not contained very much at all. So they're still working on that. I saw the National Guard was going to be using additional aircraft because it's in that valley. So hopefully they'll be able to get that quenched pretty quickly. The winds weren't too bad. When we looked at the wind map. We'll look at the wind map again here in just 1 second. All right, I brought this one up. This is a little bit different view. This did not used to cover the entire United States, but this is now Inclim Web, INCLI Web, and they have now started in covering the entire United States. Usually it stopped at the Mississippi River, but now they're further east, all the way east. And so they show you the different burns. The nice thing about this one is they also include the prescribed burns. I mean, you have like the Big Ridge Fire, the Rattlesnake Branch Fire in the Appalachian, the Table Rock, but you have some fires that are controlled burns. So that one's 1 week old. Some of these are not as current as the other one, but I like this because now it does extend to the east. It looks as though the Rocky Mountain line had some significant fires that continued pretty much from Canada down almost to Mexico on the Rocky Mountains. So I checked that out today just to see what it looked like, and that's what you got. All right, I'm going to update this one. For everybody that is listening on the radio, this is poweroutage.us. I pulled this map up because it shows us the current power outages in the United States. And currently, California has 10,000 people without power. If we zoom in and look, I'm going to guess it's probably right along where that fire line is in Inyo, California. So that's where the most people are without power. They're saying that there are 169 people out in Inyo County. Oh, wait a minute. That's the button I wanted. Come on. There we go. All right. And we zoom back out and we go down to Texas. And in Texas, we see that most of the power is out in Culberson County. And that's probably because of that little thunder boomer we looked at. Sterling County and Borden County are also reporting some significant outages. In Indiana, it looks as though one county, Madison County, is making up the majority of your power outages, but there are some out down in Floyd County. But in Indiana, there are currently 14,365. Michigan has been under it for a while with power outages, and there are still some people in the tip of the glove up there and in the parts you can only access in Canada without power, but it has gotten better. The entire state had been red, but now there is 71,102 people without power. It had been much higher than that. All right, so we updated this. This is what the globe, the big blue planet, looks like from space at the moment. I like this. This is from NOAA. You can tape the globe and you can spin it around and you can look at the entire globe and see the satellite conditions at the current time. We will show you some wind conditions here in a minute with the favorite AI map, but I like this because this allows us to zoom in at on the globe at any point in time and see what the current cloud cover is. We'll go to the fan favorite, and if you've not been to the Para Our Normal Guys, I suggest you come over and check this out. This is the fan favorite wind map. And you can see in real time, it takes AI and it moves the wind and it makes it so you can visually see it. And if I had a plasma TV, I swear I would put this on screen and play some, I don't know, easy music, some elevator music, and just kind of sit there and stare at it. In the United States, most of the wind is coming out of the Gulf of America, as we've discussed, going to the northeast. And it's hitting a little vortex up there just above the Yukon in Canada. But over in Alaska, where that blizzard warning is probably where this little cyclonic activity is. Spin around and look and see. There's nothing, as you can see, in the Atlantic or the Pacific that looks to be a threat. And we'll go down under and look at their current. Is there any wind down there? Yeah, there is some wind down there. Okay. It's kind of neat. You can pull the globe around and look at it as you choose. We'll go down to Australia and we'll look and see that one little cyclonic event spinning off of the west coast, but otherwise it's relatively calm in Australia today. We can also use this map if we want to look at what the actual currents are doing on the big blue globe. You can see the current currents. We'll zoom in here on the United States, and we'll see most of the currents are pretty much coming inland at this time. And we can also see the wave activity and see the waves, how the waves are coming to the shore. This is the fan favorite, and I gotta agree, it's my favorite of all the maps we show. All right, Wendell left, but we know that he is the person that likes to know the most about earthquakes. So we look and see the most recent earthquake was in the Fiji Islands at a 4.1. There was a 4.4 overnight in the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which is pretty much due north of Bermuda and halfway between London and Greenland. No, not Greenland. Windsor, Canada. Whew, man, I was drawing a blank there. Ottawa. All right, so they had a 3.1 off the coast of Rio Vista, a 4.7 in Burma, and this was in Alaska, a 3.3. I'm going backwards for the most recent. In Nepal, they had a 4.9. And where was this one? This was in Taiwan, a 4.0. And Tonga, a 4.8. That's not, is that right? That is our Texas. 2.7 in Texas. Wasn't aware Texas had them. New Mexico, a 2.8. Indonesia, a 4.7. I'm just going backwards. So 5.2 in Nepal, New Guinea. And then they had a 3.9 in Alaska. They had 2 in Texas. All right. Oklahoma, a 2.8, a 2.9, and 2.7 in Ridgely, Tennessee. I'm not familiar with where that is in Tennessee. Okay, that is in the, what would that be? That would be the northwest tip of Tennessee. Okay. And then they had a 4.8 just south of Panama down in the Pacific. All right, so that's some of the most current ones. And we'll jump from there. I brought this map up today. This is the measles map because it's a hot topic here in the United States. I believe there are almost 90 cases of reported measles. And we see that Washington, California, Colorado, Kansas is really getting it. New Mexico, Texas has got greater than 250. Minnesota has got several. Michigan and up into the New England, Vermont, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, Ohio, down into Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida, as well as Alaska, are all reporting cases of measles. I believe I heard it earlier. We were like 485 or something like that. But this data has been updated recently, so that shows your most recent map of where the measles is currently. I encourage everybody to pretty much get their measles shot because this is a serious disease. As a paramedic, I can tell you it's not fun. No, I apologize. This has been updated actually since I looked at it earlier. 607 cases of measles in the United States, with 12% of them requiring hospitalization. The majority of those affected by it are children under 5. So, and children under 19 make up the next significant number. If you're greater than 20, you're not out of the woods. You still have almost a 33% chance. So make sure you are immunized. All right. And we look at the respiratory activity. SARS is on the rise. It's actually on the rise here in East Tennessee, even though the state says it's still low. Okay. All right. Well, it is on the rise in Tennessee, in Alabama, Mississippi, as compared to the states surrounding us. Wisconsin, New Hampshire, and Maryland, Pennsylvania are the highest at the current time for acute respiratory illnesses. And according to the wastewater map, it's a fun map where they look at your poop in the United States. We see that COVID in Nevada, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Virginia, all the way up into Maryland, New Jersey, and Massachusetts, and Vermont is high. So they track your poo. I know that's crazy, isn't it? They track your poo. Also, Alabama is increasing, and Missouri is increasing, as well as South Dakota. And they can tell you the population that has COVID in their poo. Influenza A is relatively low in part of the Southwest, but it's starting to rise in Georgia, Alabama, Kentucky, and into the Northeast, over into Minnesota as well. So the flu is on the rise, and then we talked about RSV. They're still saying it's relatively low in Tennessee, but it's growing. In fact, I've had family members get it. Wyoming, it is very high, and surrounding areas of Utah and Idaho also. And Michigan, boy, Michigan just can't get a break. They have RSV and all that horrible weather right now. So this next map is just the event list. It's not a map. This is, you can go to the National Emergency not national, international emergencies, and pull up an event list of all types of events. It covers everything from biological to flooding. And we're just going to cover the most recent things because, well, there's a lot of things going on in the world. All right. So in Asia, we see that 138 children have now contracted measles, and that is definitely on the rise. And let's see what else is happening here in the world. In the Russian Federation, there is an unknown acute respiratory infection, and the Kremlin has actually posted in some of their sites that they suspect it could be, what do they call that? Biological warfare. Let's hope not. Australia, they're reporting a measles outbreak expanding. So, and apparently somebody was visiting a pub with the measles, and it's causing it to be an outbreak in Oceania. All right, we continue down to a possible water supply disruption in Yemen. 50,000 people have been left without water. Oh, Australia, you have had a social incident. $500,000 stolen from a super fund in a cyber attack in Oceania. And local security conflicts, there's been reports of heavy gunfire in Sudan. No, that's not right. That's wrong. I'm sorry. Syria, 10 killed in an Israeli airstrike. Well, we know about that. So, yeah, we're the places where there's war we're not really going to talk about. Greece, 7 people dead after a boat carrying migrants capsizes near the Greek island. We talked about that yesterday. India is having some violence, and protesters are torching vehicles at a steel mill plant. All right. That's in Asia and India. In Bolivia and South America, an explosion standoff between rival gold miners. Can't mess with those gold miners. There's been an explosion, and we talked about that in South Africa yesterday. And that's not new. That's not new. Of course, we look at the war zones. We know about Israel, the Middle East, Ukraine. Ecological disasters, nothing new there to report. And we have in Malaysia, an oil leak at a Malaysian terminal is contained. Cleanup begins in Asia. And in Oman, a gas explosion in a commercial building in Oman. And in United Kingdom, they had a fire at the leaks in Talbot Green. 60 firefighters battling the blaze. In Europe and United States, 9 injured, dozens rescued in Edgewater high-rise fire in Chicago. In Nigeria, fire guts a varsity and destroys the property. And Russia had a fire overnight, and it was extinguished. 3 people injured. Fire in a high-rise in North Bergen. That's going to be New Jersey, I'm sure. Kills an elderly senior and a woman overnight. Luxembourg, 7 people relocated after an overnight blaze in Wiltz. And a fire in a New York Satire. Okay, we've covered that already. Outdoor fires we've talked about already. And we've talked about the earthquakes already. And we've also talked about the other geological events. And the only volcanic activity right now is over in the Mariana Islands. Of course, flooding in Australia is continuing. It's going to be a problem in the United States. And there was a tsunami in Tonga, tsunami warning at least. And let's see, in South Africa and Johannesburg, people are being affected by a power outage. 8 people killed after inhaling a toxic gas in a 150-year-old well in Madhya Pradesh, Asia. 65 school children in India fall ill after eating a midday meal containing dead lizard. Well, that certainly isn't on the school lunch program. Let's see. 2 dead in Italy in an overnight air crash. An Indian Air Force pilot dies after his jet crashes. And public roads incidents. Bangladesh overnight had a head-on collision, leaving 10 dead. Overnight in Nigeria, fire guts a ferry. And we've talked about that. We talked about the rainfall and the hail in the United States has been horrible. The lightning in the United States has been horrible. And so is the severe weather and storms. All right, so that's it for the event list. We've got about 15 minutes here. We'll look real quick at the disaster alerts, and we're just going to look at the big picture because we've pretty much discussed all this. But if you look across or around the globe, this is pretty much all the events right now. All the hazards are events. It ranges anything from weather to war to man-made biological incidents or volcanic activity, or as we talked about, blizzards up in Alaska and that storm in the central United States. So that map is available by going to Disaster Alert. This is by the Global Disaster Alert Coordination Center. Pretty much gives us the same information, but I like to show you more than one place so you know that it's just not me rambling, but there it's nothing new. And let's hop over to this. Gives us events, current news events. This is usalivemap.com, and this map is refreshed regularly with current news events. And we look and see what's going on in the country. Let's start out on the East Coast, see what's going on up in Maine. They're investigating what could have prompted a shooting in Maine. Okay. And down in one person killed in a motor vehicle crash in Harwich. Police are investigating a shooting in Hartford, Connecticut. Pedestrian is critical condition after a hit and run Thursday night in Waterbury. We go down into New York and we see Manhattan. They have a male shot. Suspect is a male wearing all black and fled the area. And the S&P posted its biggest loss. Yeah, well, that's going to happen for a day or two. Brooklyn, Broadway, they've confirmed a person stabbed. Suspect is a male white in his mid-20s wearing yellow and neon green gloves, black jacket, gray hoodie, and black sweatpants. That should be pretty easy to find if he's wearing all those bright colors, right? Over in Brooklyn, we talked about that fire. And what is this one? 9 injured after a crash involving a bus in Queens. I'll hop down here into City of Brotherly Love. 3 family members struck and killed by an Amtrak train near Philadelphia. How the heck did 3 people get struck and killed? Go down to Baltimore and see what's happening with Andy. Baltimore fire rescued a civilian from a house fire in Northeast. And they're standing guard in front of a house following a shooting in Northeast Baltimore. Okay. Interesting. Zoom out a bit here. And we'll go down into Washington, D.C. and see what's going on there. And the 5th District officers responded to found human remains on the 1200 block of Jackson Street. Detectives have not found any evidence of a crime, but the report is still pending. All right, interesting. They had a stabbing in the Montello Avenue in Sims Place, Northeast. That is on the, the southeast side of Washington, D.C. We'll continue to go further south. We get down into Raleigh. 2 killed in a car crash. And they had Greensboro's responded to an aggravated assault over in Charlotte. 2 killed in a Rock Hill house fire. Deputies investigating shooting in Greenville. Go down to my neck of the woods in Atlanta. There's always something going on. 42-year-old woman hospitalized after she was shot in the chest. Goodness gracious. And woman is dead. And a deputy is in the hospital after a high-speed chase and a shootout in Dooley County, Georgia. Down in Orlando. Son arrested after stabbing his father in Orange County. Good Lord. Over in Tampa, a crash leaves 1 person dead. Police are investigating over in Fort Lauderdale. 1 person was killed and 2 others hospitalized following a shooting in Fort Lauderdale. Chris says he's back. Sorry, I was tied up for a while. I don't mean in a good way. Whoa, well, you must not have been with Cheyenne. We'll see what's going on up in Detroit. They had a commercial box alarm. They have a commercial building And they were originally dispatched for a fire alarm, but they said that they got there and said, no, we need to fill the box. That was words I love to use on the radio. They send you out on what they call as a nothing, and you get on scene and you look up and there's this big old column of smoke and there's fire, and you just calmly key the radio up and go, engine 42 dispatch, fill the box. I always loved saying those words because you knew you were the first one there and got to do all the fun stuff. Everybody else come in and get to do other things. In Denver, Medic 9 has been involved in an injury at Central and Clayton Street. I saw pictures from that, and the pictures were kind of graphic. The EMT, who is the driver, managed to crawl through the wreckage and get out the back. He couldn't get out the front or side of the ambulance, and the paramedic, when the first engine got there, they reported to send the team to investigate a fatality because they were like, there's no way anybody could live through this accident. But the paramedic, you can see he is sitting in a passenger seat and he's got multiple broken bones, dislocated leg, and you can see his face just in a little square of the window of the truck. And yeah, that was a horrific crash. And somebody ran a light. Yeah. I don't even think they were responding to a call. I'd have to go back and look, but yeah, it was a horrible crash. Let's see, where are we at here? We are in West Virginia. A man arrested after a drug raid. Wow, that's bad. And a man accused of killing a woman during a shooting in North Carolina, Westmoreland, North Carolina. Well, that's in the wrong place because it's showing it to be in the West Virginia region. Chris, down here in local police are on the scene of involving a shooting. That looks like it's in Middletown. Of course, we know about the weather going on down there. Down in Louisville, a double murder investigation, alleged murder-suicide. Okay. In Nashville, they have a shooting on Brick Church Pike that they're working on. What is this here? This is storm damage. Okay, we know about that. We talked about that. Let's go down here to Baton Rouge. Deputies responding to a body of a male being found on Lilac Street. All right. It looks like things are hopping in Texas. Good Lord, Houston. What all is going on there? Investigating alleged murder-suicide. 2 people dead in a downtown apartment. And what is this? Northeast officers are on scene of a man struck by a train. He did not survive. Well, train versus human. Nintendo says it will pause pre-orders launch of Switch 2 because of the new Trump tariffs. Okay, I'm not sure why that is there, but okay. Constable, deputies assisted the Spring Police Department with juvenile disturbance. Revealed that no shots were fired. No one was injured. Great work to the police department. Oh, absolutely. Break up the party. Deputies responding to a suspicious person on Olympia Fields Lane. Wonder if they were doing gang shit. Constable deputies. And where's that? That's also south of Houston. I've got to send my link out here. And where am I at? Let me invite a guest. Add guest. Copy. And where is it? Did I close it? Well, let me find a way of sending this to Ross. Here we go. Let me send the link to Ross because Ross is coming up on his show, Massive Media. Let's see. Let's zoom around real quick and see if we can find anything else. There's a new map I want to show you today. Where was that? That was in Oklahoma. A fire on a semi-truck. Oh, goodness. And you can go check this out. It's a great map to get stories and news. Los Angeles. Oh, there's a lot going on down there. And Portland. You got a 16-year-old arrested after fighting and shooting. All right, up in Bremerton, man charged for double homicide outside of Rainier Beach Hookah Lounge. Thought hookah lounges were supposed to be places of peace. Who knew? North Park Point Place, crews on scene report no active fires, so they're reducing the response. They had a stabbing, 37-year-old male on the waterfront of Seattle. All right. Let's see, Chris says, we need Ross here so he can remind me if I could forget to do anything else. Yes. We always want Ross around. All right. That we can pretty much you can go check out at Live News. What is it? USA Live Map. So just search out local live news stories, and you'll get that. And this is the New England Fire News. This is mainly all fire EMS. And the only thing, I got something out here in California. Anaheim, third alarm transmitted for heavy fire in a apartment building. All right, you don't see them too much out there. This area, as obviously with it being called the New England Fire News, it's mainly in that area. A single car into a utility pole, 8 patients in Westford, Mass. So, but this is the map I found. I shouldn't say I found it. It's not like I discovered it. This is the FAA map. And every day I try and show you all different no-fly zones and what's going on and temporary flight restrictions. And I looked up this map today and saw that we could get some additional details. Of course, obviously, hey, here we have Ross. Welcome, Ross. Welcome.
Hey there.
So this is
reset me back to everything, every setting. But I actually wanted.
I did what? I didn't do anything.
Or not a video, but Talk Studio sent me back to whatever other settings that usually are default instead of the actual default settings. So I'm back.
Yeah, I think they made an update. Yeah, I think it updated overnight. So yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
They changed this thing a lot, believe it or not. So this is our temporary flight restrictions, and obviously we know there are over certain areas where you can't fly, like DC, Mar-a-Lago. But this map also gives us some other data, and I was looking at because we've been talking about in Salt Lake City. I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on in Salt Lake City because they have space operations. Well, I pulled it up a little bit further on this map. Let me see if I can find it. But it turns out that section, because of the direction of travel, I guess, of flights, missiles, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, is apparently from Area 51. So I did not know that. Did you know that, Ross?
I knew that there were people that fly to work every day from Las Vegas, Nevada. Unnumbered aircraft.
Oh yeah.
51 to go to work.
Yeah. There's a name for that air courier. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, they have Air Force bases out there, obviously, and proving grounds, but that is tied all the way down to Area 51 because of the upper air and where things travel. So it makes you wonder what's in the upper air. You know what I'm saying? What's up high?
Oh, you mean that's where the actual restriction is?
It's space operations over Salt Lake. And so this map, you can pull it up and it will actually show you. This is the FAA map. It shows you in different altitudes. And it's only tied to Area 51 because of altitude. I'm like, okay, that makes a little more sense because I couldn't figure out why there was space operations. I get it over Area 51. I get it. Las Vegas, I get all that, but there? So I finally tied it to it. It's because of the altitude in the direction of travel, which from Area 51 would pretty much be due north. But so whatever it is they're sending into the air from Area 51 is traveling due north up into the upper atmosphere. And I don't see there any still space operations in Alaska. Yeah, there's still some space operations in Alaska. So I don't know what that's about, but I'll figure that one out later. And I don't know if you heard, Ross, but our astronauts are back safe and sound. So,
well, I thought they were back safe and sound the other day. In fact, like last week.
No, they came back today. Nope, they came back today.
The ones that were trapped on the space station?
No, from Fram 2, the mission that was exploring the Arctic poles. That was in low altitude.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They came back today. So welcome back.
Did they splash down into the Gulf of Mexico also?
No, I believe they came down off of the West Coast.
Oh.
Usually, but usually they do come down off into the Gulf. Yes. are off of the Canaveral side in the Atlantic. So
Yeah, but I mean, I guess the space station one landed in the Gulf of Mexico. And of course, I'm keeping to say Mexico because that's what the media did, and
yeah.
it upset Mango Mussolini.
Well, they don't tell you the whole story of that. You do realize that AP has a style of writing, right?
They all
There's
do.
an actual no. There is an actual style of writing that is attributed to the AP, and in order for them to change that, they have to redo the style. So it's like putting out a college textbook. They have to do a process. So it's not, they wanted to blow that up into more than it really was. No, it's an AP style of writing because you can go through, if you're a journalist and they teach you different ways. And I know this only because I worked at a newspaper as a stringer, and I would occasionally just write like little bylines for the photo. And they're like, oh, you have to write it in the AP style. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And there's an actual book you have to go to. Well, at the time there was. I'm showing my age. Of course, I was still using 35 millimeter slides. So, but yeah. They blew that up more than it.
And did you use the pegs that had the letter on the end of it to put each letter into the screen? That's my grandfather.
No, I taped my photographs to the big piece of paper. That's all I did. So I was only around to write the little byline. So yeah, typesetter. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But no, I just did the little bylines and I didn't get to do the typesetting. But occasionally I get to tape my photo up there. But yeah, you have to. They made a bigger deal out of that than it really was. So and. I mean, what do you expect? They were bored. They needed headlines. I get it. I figure here in about 2 hours we'll get some big drop on something. So
I just thought of something. I don't think I was live on the UG today.
Oh, well, that's not good. Chris asks if I wore a hat like Oscar Madison from the Odd Couple.
God damn it.
I wish I did. You want me to give you a mix back? I can give you mix back. Let me give you mix back because
I'm ready for it. If you are,
there you go. I'll give it back to you. I mean, it is your channel after all, so I guess I should.
Well, yeah, I should. Unlike some, I share. I had calls from listeners after the show supporting me.
Good. Oh, I haven't gotten any calls except from the agent, so I guess I'm doing good.
Yeah, that's still good news too. Hey, by the way, I am putting you down as a reference.
Do I got to lie?
For an Irish station.
Oh,
collaborate with on Up the Middle.
Okay.
They seem to have a mixed format. So once I actually make contact with them, I'll see what other things they're looking for.
Cool.
Or I can just send you the link and you can put it in yourself. It's Sunset. Pull it up here. Sunsetradio.ie. Indigo Echo, which is the suffix for Ireland. And they must be interested because they have a tab right on their homepage to join their team. So
I'm curious about the shortwave. I want to get in on the shortwave action.
Yeah, that's also brokered. So I need to get sponsors. But I will, and I'm gaming for it. And I'll see. The one station up in Portland, Maine has an opening in my time slot. The other station in Miami does not, but they would take it and syndicate it.
Okay. That would be good.
Well, I mean, I guess if we're targeting overseas anyway, I guess it's not really that big of a deal because maybe we can send it out at a better time for them.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I'm still working on sponsors myself, and I shouldn't say I'm really working on it because since I've been here, I haven't been, but I have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working. I got a one sheet that's almost done. I got it's just right now you're pretty much going to get everything for the low price of $1,500 a month. Eventually, that's going to split up. Once I get the minivan wrapped and I look like a news van, that's going to change. That's going to change things. I'm targeting my local area for that reason. and so some local sponsors, but also sponsors that are a little bigger, like my phone company for the 800 number. They can offer other companies the same service that listen to us. So you had a good start at in the 1 o'clock hour.
Good.
This one.
Yeah, well, it's going to vary. So I'm learning to slow down and talk.
Today wasn't as good for me, but I'll bet with once I put this video out in shorts all over the place.
Oh, Lord.
I'll bet I'll have a following on Monday.
Oh, mercy. Well, just tell them to all come over to the Paranormal Guys. 3 words, and guys is spelled with a Z. And like, follow, share, subscribe, hit that notification button, and we'll calm them down after your show. After you get them all riled up, occasionally I'll rile them up. So
I need to this all of a sudden Rumble. I'm having to reconnect about twice a week.
Yeah, I gave up on Rumble. I just upload afterwards. Yeah, I just upload. I've got a pretty decent following over there, but doing it live is too much.
Trying to develop that. I don't do much after the fact. I don't do much post production or anything else. But brain farting. Sorry. Mastiff Media Magazine.
There you go. Yeah, I just upload when I'm doing my Spotify uploads. I just roll over there and upload video, and I've got, I don't know, I average probably about 20-30 views a day. I mean, it's not enough to get monetized, but it's okay. But you cannot move people from one medium to another, and I just don't understand that. So
yeah, see, that's the one thing that I'm glad I didn't fall for when I was studying more daily under Think Media on YouTube. Mm-hmm. They said use your social media to steer your audience to YouTube. And I thought, well, what if my audience isn't on YouTube? Like then I was just doing the doggy traders, and I was learning to stream to other channels. And I included LinkedIn and grew my audience there exponentially, because day trading is kind of a business thing, and it stands to reason that perhaps there are more business people on LinkedIn than Facebook or than YouTube.
Exactly.
And like I said, I grew that quickly. So anyway,
and they took it away. They want money, just like X. I had a pretty good following on X. X will probably be the only one I pay for. Well, I mean, I've got a premium subscription to YouTube, but it doesn't mean anything as far as uploads or lives. But X will probably be the only one I really pay for.
I used to pay for Twitter, X, whichever. I don't, because I'm not a fan of him. And if that were to ever change, maybe. But I've experienced the censorship on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on YouTube now, which is why I'm very happy to be on my own website and my own radio station.
Gotcha.
I've got audio and video covered, and I got that covered for you should you ever experience the same thing.
Cool. Well, it's the only thing I'm really X for me is sports and news. I mean, if you want breaking news, you can almost get it to the second there.
And that's what Twitter used to be.
Yeah.
Twitter used to be a press release. Twitter used to be a quick statement and done. Now it's got video. Now it's got sound. Now it's got this, that, and 5 other things. Let Facebook be Facebook. You be Twitter. When I had a consultant teaching me about the hospitality industry, he would say about how many different motels try to become a resort. You're not a resort. You're a motel. Be what you are and be good at it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's my thing with Instagram. What are you in Reels? What are you? I don't understand. So
Yeah.
And then there's this new thing called lemon something, lemon slice, lemon. I don't know. It's lemon something. So
yeah, I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Chatter, and I'm waiting for that 2.0 that was supposed to come out in January, which is a better version for video streaming and such. I'm on Clubhouse, although I haven't been on that in a while. And I think my followings there have slipped for that reason. And so, yeah, I got to spend evenings in other people's rooms, so they come over to mine, things like that. But anyway, all right, I've got a lot of news to cover in this next hour, and it's already down.
You better get to it.
Yep.
You better get to it, my friend. Have a great day, my friend. I will see you Monday.
All
right.
Yep. Absolutely.
Stay safe. All right. See you.
All right.
All right, everybody at Sportcat Daily Gazette. This is the last thing we always look at is the Bit Defender, and it just shows where these cyber attacks are going on. And I just had it kind of going there in the background while Jurgs and I were talking. And you see, as pretty consistent. The only thing I see different today is it seems like the West Coast is being hammered more than anywhere else. And, well, that could be the middle of the country, like Colorado. Usually it's along the East Coast. That's the only part I see different today. But the reds are attack, yellows are infections, white are spam. So you can find that at Bitdefender and see where the current cyber threats are from. So that's the only real thing I see different there. Otherwise, we have wrapped up for today with the Daily Gazette. I hope that you had a great one. We didn't get to any news or anything like that, but we will try and get to it. We didn't get to any sports or any other entertainment news, but we'll try and do that next week. But who knows? Weekends are sometimes busy for news stories. So, all right, everybody have a great weekend. If you have any comments, queries, or suggestions, you can go to speakpipe.com/sportcat. And you can shoot me a voicemail, or if you would rather remain anonymous and send me an email, we can remain anonymous on SpeakPipe. You can go over and email me at sportcat@protonmail.com. And you can find me on most social medias, either at Sportcat or Sportcat Medic, because, well, at one point in time, I decided to ruin my life and become a paramedic. So there you go. Everybody have a great weekend. I have a Sunday show Sunday at 7 p.m. If you cover or are a fan of the UFL XFL, which is the Rock Football League combined with the NFL. So the Lippman men have a show Sunday night. Other than that, I will see you guys Monday. We have two shows Monday. We have the Daily Gazette, which is from 1 to 3 Eastern. And then my girls are back talking horror from 8 till 10. So, and Wednesday is the paranormal show. I hope to hear from all of you soon. Have a great weekend. Hopefully this storm will get out of here and everybody will be nice and safe and sound. Have a great weekend, everybody. I will see you soon. Let me hit this button, play some music, and get us out of here. See you soon, guys and gals. Have a great one.